Hey there guys, what's up? So something pretty darn awesome happened, and it was the Game Awards. I really never thought I would be saying that, but after watching it, I was incredibly surprised. In fact, by the end of it, I was convinced that out of the blue, the Game Awards cemented itself as being a relevant and very important part of the year, just like E3 or TGS or any other big games event. But you know, I think it actually goes deeper than that. There were ways that it even surpassed those events, and I want to explain why. First, a little background in case you're unfamiliar with the whole thing. The Video Game Awards were hosted on Spike TV for a number of years, and without being too negative, I'll just say they were not something I was incredibly interested in watching. Last year, they separated from Spike and were rebranded simply as the Game Awards. From what I can tell, Jeff Keighley is pretty much responsible for bringing it all together and making it still happen. On that first year with the new format, I remember watching a bit of it here and there and thinking that it was pretty decent. I mean, that Zelda U footage was enough to make the whole thing worth it. So this year, when I heard that tons of people were bringing reveals and new trailers and the like, I thought I'd give it a full watch. If maybe with my 3DS in my hands during the boring parts. But let me tell you, I never picked the thing up. There are three main reasons I was sucked into it, and the first is the most flashy and obvious one: the reveals. This alone turned the Game Awards into exactly what I was hoping it would be, but didn't truly expect. A mini E3 of sorts that takes place on the other half of the year. There was a great mix of reveals and teasers for games that no one had heard about, and new trailers for previously unannounced games. Highlights included a trailer for the new Far Cry, which looks awesome, a new trailer for Uncharted 4, and the bombshell that is Psychonauts 2, which had me doing a fair amount of excited shouting. It was so much fun stuff packed into one evening that if it keeps this up, it will make the wait for E3 that much easier. The second thing that made the night special was the actual award part of the show, though again, you have to look a little closer to see why it was so important. Now, you might not know this about the Academy Awards, but they're not given to movies based on any sort of actual popular vote. They're strategically picked by a board based on socio-political relevance and on who, quote-unquote, deserves it most. Make a movie about a hot topic of today, and you'll most likely beat out any other movie, no matter how much better it is. Make a great movie but lose to something that's more relevant? You're likely to get an award, or at least a nomination, also known as a nod, next year for your meh movie because you deserve to get one. In a way, the Game Awards felt a little bit like this, but it was done in a way that I actually appreciated, because it felt like they were trying to include everyone in a spirit of community. Rocket League won Best Indie Game, so they gave Ori and the Blind Forest Best Art Direction. Her Story snatched up Best Narrative and Best Performance, so they gave Life is Strange an award for its creative impact. Witcher 3 won Best Game, so Metal Gear Solid got Best Score and Best Action Adventure. Nintendo doesn't really win a whole lot of awards lately, so they got Best Family Game for Mario Maker, which was up against multi-million sellers like Skylanders and Disney Infinity. And they got Best Multiplayer for Splatoon, which was up against, well, you know, all those ridiculously popular shooters everyone plays. There were a few surprising snubs, the biggest one probably being Undertale not winning Best Indie, but overall the love was spread around all over the place. This created a great sense of togetherness that made me forget about rivalries and sales numbers and all that and just enjoy being a gamer. And this leads naturally into my last point. The Game Awards were perhaps the most awesome and important gaming event of the year because they were real. It's obvious that Jeff Keighley is a real gamer, and this event was put together with gamers in mind. Think about E3, the biggest game show of the year, and after reveals and stuff, what does it usually mean? It means guys in suits with big smiles who have clearly never played a game in their life. It means long presentations about Kinect and mobile apps. It means cringe-worthy comedy bits and, dare I utter his name, Usher. It seems like every other big event of the year is made by corporate guys who clearly don't know who their audience is or what they appreciate. The second annual Game Awards was different. Like I said before, I was never bored. If something didn't interest me too much, it didn't matter because it was over before I knew it. There were a few corporate bits, but it's obvious that they were required to fund the entire show, and at their absolute worst, they were just whatever. iJustine popping up every once in a while to talk about Star Wars Battlefront, the occasional break for ads, nothing major, and nothing so irrelevant that it was too boring or grating. Then the Unity tie-in was a perfect example of corporate sponsorship that legitimately belonged. This was a product that was showing how it's changing game development, and it was interesting to watch and pretty uplifting for what was essentially a series of ads. It fit. It made sense. Just like everything during the show. Not only was it all geared toward actual gamers and no one else, but nearly everything seemed genuine, like it came from a place of real passion. A big chunk of the show was dedicated to a beautiful tribute to Satoru Iwata, which included a speech from Reggie himself. Greg Miller from Kinda Funny gave a poignant acceptance speech thanking the little guys in game development that was one of the highlights of the show. The musical guests were Churches and Deadmau5, the latter of which performing a somewhat subdued selection of game music that was still a million times more appreciated than... Just like last year, there was another achievement award honoring lesser-known industry veterans that changed the game behind the scenes. There was a ton of attention given to tiny games that would have been all but ignored and forgotten a decade ago. Jeff Keighley looked right into the camera and told us how Hideo Kojima couldn't be there to accept his award because Konami wouldn't let him, which led to boos from the crowd. I mean, he did that! Who does that? No one would lead a huge corporate-sponsored event and bring up something like that about a developer, lest that developer gets mad at them and it leads to bad feelings, which is a big no-no in the business world. But he did it anyway! Do you know why? Because this award show was real! Konami being awful right now is a real thing, and this show was made by real gamers for real gamers. This is at the heart of why I think the second annual Game Awards was possibly the best thing that happened all year, and why going forward it's going to be important. Absent were long spiels about smartphones or endless trailers for Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed or annoying and entirely fake TV personality types that you often see at these sorts of things. It was a celebration of gaming, where people from across the board came together to just have a good time. And I don't know about you, but I've got a new event to look forward to every December. Did you see the show yourself? Am I just totally talking nonsense here and it was actually just like every other gaming show out there? Well, I'd love to hear what you think, so drop me a line down in the comments. I'll catch you next time!